Today I want to start with a parable. And okay, let's go to a neighborhood. In a neighborhood, you have around 200 houses, several apartment complexes, you have stores, you have a police station there. So it's just a common neighborhood. And there is this family that moved into one of those houses, and it consists out of a couple, a married couple, and their two daughters, and they have a lot of pets. And man, they are making a lot of noise. Their house looks dirty on the outside, both on the and in the inside it's worse. And they make a lot of noise, they scream a lot, they swear a lot, and their dogs often poo here and there on the streets, and they don't pick up their dog's business after their dogs are finished. So the people in that neighborhood, man, they became irritated at that um, family. So one day, Suzanne, okay, I'm using the name Suzanne often in my parables, just a common name I often use, no special meaning to it. Suzanne, one day at her job, she's a college student also, and at her job, she talks about it, about how irritated she is with those people. Then at college, there is this student she meets. Well, she saw him a few times. He studies Portuguese language and cultures. He's doing a master. And that that guy listens to Suzanne's complaint about that family. So that guy, let's call him Jean, or that's the Portuguese name for John. John decides, okay, Susie, I'm going with you to your neighborhood. I want to see that family. She said, are you sure, John? Just said, yes, I'm sure. Tomorrow we're going there. So tomorrow came, they went there, and Suzanne pointed to him. You see that house over there? You see how dirty that house is? Those are the people I'm talking about. And John sees one of the daughters who's obese. And John points out, are they all obese? And Susie said, yeah, they are. And then John looks around. And then John asks Susie, haven't you noticed anything weird about this neighborhood? Then Susie looks at him, yeah, I did notice something strange. This family that came here, that live like pigs, we don't want them here. Everyone, they have over 300 complaints already. When are they finally kicked out of that house? And then John told him, Susie, I want you to calm down for a moment. Then Susie asked, what's going on, John? Did I say anything wrong? John said, no, you didn't say anything wrong. I just want you to calm down. And Susie said, okay, okay. Then John told him, look around. Susie looked around. And Susie said, okay, so what's going on? Then he said, Susie, if this family they're all obese, that's obvious. They live dirty. Their dogs are pooing all around. There are over 300 complaints. If they're obese like that, and they're making so much noise, even at night, that means they're not sleeping well. That means obviously they have wrong thinking patterns. Of course, they have wrong thinking patterns, or else they wouldn't be living that dirty as they're doing now. They have mental problems, psychological issues, physical issues because they're all obese. When are they working? Susie asked, what do you mean, John? And John told her, Susie, all the people that live here, they have either a mortgage for their house or they're renting the house. Those people over there, don't tell me they have a mortgage to live over there, because they're not really working. Then Susie said, well, the father works as the postal worker. And then John asked her, how much does a postal serviceman earns? Susie said, well, maybe 1,000 euros or 900 euros, they're not earning that much. And John said, okay, so the father works as a postal serviceman, and the rest doesn't have a job, or maybe those girls are going to school. Who's paying for the rent or who's paying for the mortgage? And who has paid for all those things they have inside the house? Because their curtains are open, and yes, I can see inside it's dirty, but they do have a new flat screen TV, and they do have sculptures over there, and I can tell you those type of sculptures are expensive. And that car they're having in front of their house, that's not a cheap brand either. How are they financing all of that? Then Susie said, you know what, John? Now that I think about it, it is kind of weird indeed. And then John also added, Susie, there are over 300 complaints against those people. And there's evidence that obviously that they are bringing distress and unrest to the neighborhood. There's a police station just over there, a few hundred meters away. Why are they still living here? I mean, this is a small town. And you don't need much force to kick those people out. Why didn't the real estate bureau kick them out? I mean, it's written in any contract when you rent a house or you take a mortgage that you need to clean your house and that your house must be representative to the neighborhood in which it is. So you have to keep your house clean, you need to behave properly. All of that is written in a contract before you get the keys of a house or of an apartment. Then Susie said, yeah, you're telling the truth. And John told her, Susie, there's something going on here that you are not meant to see. That's why you are distracted by those people. And then Susie asked, okay, John, elaborate what you mean. And John told her, okay, let's go to a cafe somewhere and then I'll explain. So they went to Starbucks. Well, because Susie is addicted to Starbucks coffee. So they went over there. And John told her, Susie, when I was a little boy, like around 8 years old, me and my parents, we moved to a small apartment on the first floor in London. I was in Britain at the time. In our neighborhood, there was this guy that was an alcoholic and he also used a lot of drugs. And he and his wife and their 8 children, man, they were the worst type of people you could imagine. Just like those people you have in your neighborhoods now. But later, when I was 15, at the time we were about to move out of that place, I realized that while most people were fixated on that crooked family that they couldn't stand, a lot of the homes around became empty. There were like 20 apartments that became vacant over the years. People just left. So I began to ask around about some people I used to see that I didn't see anymore, and I found out many of them were missing. A lot of people went missing over there, but the people in the neighborhood just didn't notice it because they were so distracted by their dislike against that alcoholic family. When I came to France, I was 20. I did some research online and I found out that there were around 15 people that went missing and 8 of them were found dead later. And I also found out that the brother-in-law of that alcoholic husband and his family, that he used to be involved with mobsters, with Pakistani mobsters that operate in London. And it was later I found out that that Pakistani mob was also involved in forced prostitution. So then it became clear unto me that that alcoholic man, his brother-in-law, which was the brother of his wife, they arranged that he could have that house because the Pakistani mobsters, in which included the brother-in-law of that alcoholic husband, knew that his brother-in-law, who is married to his sister, is out of order and that their children are out of order. So he arranged a house for them in a well-spoken neighborhood to distract people. Because he knew once they get the house, man, people are going to be distracted because people are going to dislike them. And while people were distracted by this annoyance, they were kidnapping people. And they also had people that broke into houses, and there were a lot of breaking ins that happened also back then. And when Susie heard that, Susan thought, whoa, John, that is quite creepy. So John told her, Susie, the same, no, it's not the same thing, forgive me, but a similar thing of what I've encountered at my parents' apartment in London, a similar thing is happening now. You folks are so distracted by those people that you haven't noticed the obvious things. That family cannot afford that house. Yet they have, even though the house is a mess on the inside and on the outside, it's still like all those expensive stuff, an expensive car. They have a lot of food because they're obese, and poor people don't become obese that quickly. So you folks missed the bigger picture. You missed the most obvious things that didn't add up. And then he told Susie, just check around what's missing in the neighborhood. A week passes by, and then Susie calls him John. And John says, yeah, Susie, what's going on? Susie says, John, did you remember about a week ago you told me to look what's missing in the neighborhood? Oh yeah, I told that. Well, I began to look around, and there is this new church that's opened over there. It's just a small building they've constructed, and there's a church over there. I never noticed that church before. So I typed in the name in Google, and I found out that this church is part of some cult that operates in Latin America. They believe, besides the Bible, they also have two other books they believe in. And this cult in Brazil, they are known to kidnap people and selling people into slavery. And I began to ask about this church at the police station, and the people at the police station, even they were not even aware that this church was constructed over there. But that's not all, John. There was this couple that lived in one of those apartments. I don't see them anymore. I used to see them often at the supermarket. So I asked at the supermarket. Nobody saw them lately. I even went to their homes. I even asked the real estate agent of the building to open the doors because I was worried about them. So after the permission of the police, they opened it, and the couple just disappeared. So I found in a missing report on their behalf. John said, whoa, that's a lot. And here's another thing, John. That church was constructed over there, but there was no permit of the municipality for it to be constructed. So people don't know how it came over there. Because about 3 weeks ago it wasn't there. So it was constructed very quickly, but since it was constructed, nobody was seen coming over there. The police went and checked on cameras that are security cameras that are in the streets, and it was constructed very quickly, but nobody ever came over there. It is as if it was constructed to distract. So people are now investigating it. And John asked, did you find out about that family? And Susie said, John, I don't really care about what's going on with that family that people are annoyed by. It is just as you said, John. We have been distracted. Other things were happening that we didn't even notice. You have a cult now that constructed a small church, and it happened within a week and nobody even noticed it. How crazy is that? And not only that, you have a couple that often went to the supermarket. They disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. but people are aware of that family. That's that dirty family. You know what, John? We should have looked at the bigger picture. All right, that was the parable, and well, you probably understand the message already. When there is a big annoyance that a lot of people are annoyed by, whether it's a family, just like in this case, that's living a dirty lifestyle that's bothering a lot of people, whether they're making a lot of noise or they are cussing or they're openly drunk and all of that, or it may be something small. It can even be in a classroom that you have one student that's disliked because he talks too much according to others people. People are annoyed by it. It can be any form of annoyance. Often when criminals want to do their dirty jobs, they distract the people that are near their targets. If they want to rob a store, they might distract people with a fire somewhere else so that they can so that they can, without being seen by many people, do their thing very quickly. Or it can be that just another example, this happens in the private sphere often, that a husband is cheating on his wife, but that he keeps complaining about some neighbor over there, and because of that, the wife and everyone else is focused upon the neighbor, and nobody sees that often he's away from home. Nobody notices that. So understand this: when people become annoyed or irritated or frustrated and they really want something to stop, they have already lost perspective because they're so focused on getting relief from the thing that's annoying them. They don't even ask why something is annoying them. They're just annoyed. They want to be relieved, and that's what they're focused upon. So they're losing perspective, and while they're losing perspective, they are distracted. That's what it means to lose perspective. You are distracted because you're focused on one thing. Now look, when you're investigating something, like you're doing research, you will narrow down your research. You will focus on one thing. So you will forget about all the other data to focus on the thing you're researching. While you're doing research, it's a good thing to kind of lose perspective when you're focused on one detail, okay? But in daily life, it's a very bad thing to lose perspective. Why? Because just like in the parable I gave a while ago, there was a cult now operating that neighborhood. People already went missing, but nobody even noticed it. So next time you see there's a lot of annoyance, ask yourself, what am I being distracted from? That being said, be at peace.